Okay, the first step in any project like this is inspection and looking over the item. Of course, tearing the car down and getting all the rusted pieces off was the first step in any type of project like this. Many of the bolts were so rusted that I had to cut them to get them loose, but I was trying to make sure I didn't tear up the car as I disassembled it. Even though some parts were going to be replaced, I wanted to make sure I kept the car as much intact. So this process of tearing the car down resulted in many parts that I would able to use later and some not be able to use later. Okay, I'm here this morning doing some electrolysis on a pedal car that I got when I was about 4 years old. Didn't take too long to set this up. I've been trusty assistant Chessie's been sitting here helping me, but she's taking a nap now. But anyway, basically we have a 55-gallon drum full of water. We've mixed about a pound of Arm & Hammer laundry booster, which I had to buy offline. It's kind of tough to find. This is a 3-pound box, and I mixed about a pound of that in here. That's being used as an impurity because water is not a very good conductor. I've been told you can also use Arm & Hammer baking soda. I also have a battery charger here that, as you can see, is just about putting out 3 amps right now. The positive side is hooked to 2 wires that are running to both sides of this, and I've got one on that side and this side, and all they are is nothing more than a piece of metal that I've hooked this to, and there's a piece of yellow wire under, basically as a safety to keep it from falling down into the bottom, so I have to reach out and find it, so that's why that's on there. And I've got one on that side as well. On the negative output of the battery charger, I have it running to 3 wires. There's 3 components in this water. The first one being the actual body of this pedal car. And you can see it working down there, bubbling. The other 2 wires are running to components of this pedal car, one being the front axle and the rear axle. The front axle is right here, and you can see that yellow wire is running to it. It's submerged down there, a little hard to see. And the other wire is running down to the other component in the front. And it's okay just to lay in there. The main thing is that they do not touch. You don't want your negative and your positive to touch. It's not dangerous, it just simply means it won't work because you have to have that action. So that's what we have going on here. This has been going for about 50 minutes, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, it's been about 5 hours since I started this. As you can see, it's still working good, bubbling. So I think I'm going to probably stop it and try to see if I can get rid of some of this, clean some of this film, so get rid of some of the nastiness. So I think I'll try to take it apart, clean it, turn it over, rehook everything back up again. I'll probably take it out here and spray it off with a hose. Our car here, you can see the components that were, here's some components that were down in there being done, as well as the car. So we're still definitely not done getting rust removed, but it's definitely a lot of rust has come off. I'm going to put the car back in and put it in with the front end sticking out so I can get some of this back end done. So I'm going to take the spraying it off and reassemble it all, and it's been about 5 hours. That's what this looks like now. But this thing was totally rusted. Just to show you, I'm going to take the water and spray off these electrodes, get some of that dirt off on them. And we'll put it all back together. Finished spraying everything off. I took a piece of cloth and skimmed off some of the rusty residue was on the top, and I rehooked everything back up. Again, my two components, one's in the water, one's there, and this one here going to the actual body. And then I have my two positive electrodes coming around here, and they're all hooked up to my charger. One thing I want to mention, last thing, is the reason why you do this electrolysis, it's a way of not removing metal, which is a lot of chemicals, and sandblasting removes metal. What we're doing here is we're simply removing rust. So with this being as thin as it is and delicate as it is, don't want to remove metal or damage the car any more than it's already been damaged from weather. So this should be the best method. So anyway, we're gonna let it go here. It's about 6 hours since we started this whole process, and we'll get the clock going again. I'll probably end up letting this thing go overnight just based upon how it looked after 5 hours, and we'll look at it in the morning. Well, it's been about 20 hours since this whole process started, maybe give or take about a half hour. We had to clean it yesterday, but this is what it looks like it's been overnight. It's still working, bubbling, and we'll probably take a few minutes here and take it all out and look at it and see what it looks like. And like I said, it's morning. This is after about 20 hours of it being in the solution. The back end has been in there for probably mine's about 5 hours, about 15 hours. The front end only got about 5 hours because my tub's not big enough, but you can see the body itself, while it's pitted terribly, this thing has sat outside for years in the rust. Most of the rust is gone now, and what remains now is the pitted metal and some of the paint, but I will probably do this some more. There's part of the mechanism that submerges about 20 hours on these pieces. About 20 hours on these pieces. When we're all done with this, we'll give all this a good wire brushing to get loose paint and that type of thing away. But I'm gonna clean this, blow it up, wash it off. Well, I just sprayed everything off with water. Let's give it a look at it. I'm starting to see definitely areas where some of the original decal has come loose and there's metal on it. Probably this line here illustrates better than anything. You can see the difference between about 5 hours on the front and about 19 to 20 hours from the line back where it's black. So when I put this back in, I'll be putting the front end back down into the water again. So you can see some of the decals actually completely come loose, and you can see shiny metal behind it. Same thing goes for the underside. I'm starting to see some paint that I could not see before. Some of the original light brown paint. You can see here under this where it's covered by a piece of metal, and most of it was protected, but now you're starting to see it along the sides on the inside. This one's been probably the more protected area of this car. So what little paint exists. Again, you see how 5 hours versus about 19 to 20 hours looks. It may not look like much, but we've gotten rid of the red oxide paint, or the red oxide rust, excuse me, and now we're looking pretty much at black rust, or what I would call dead rust, which is what you need before you recoat. So I'll be putting all this back together, and we'll probably let it go for another 12 hours and see what it looks like. Okay, I've got it all back in the solution. Everything's hooked back up. I will mention one thing. I put this on a cart so that I could pull this out and push it back in because this barrel weighs a lot. And when it comes time to get done here, I have to dump this water. I don't want to have to figure out a way to get it from my garage over to a safe place to dump it out. So I put it on this cart, which allows me to roll it around. And I can bring it out during the sunny weather, or I can push it back in overnight and keep the rain from getting on my charger. So
So anyway, like I said, it's been about 19 and a half hours, and we're starting this back up again. And let it go most of the day. Well, it's been about 29 hours, and I'm gonna pull this out, clean off my plates, which you can see they're really messy, and then flip this thing back over and put it back in and let it keep going. Well, I've just taken everything out, cleaned the car, flipped it over, cleaned my plates off, rehooked everything back up. I was reading about 3 amps, now I'm back up to 4 amps. I also chose not to put the 2 components from underneath that were in there as well back in. I think they're in pretty good shape. Most of it what's left now is paint. So we're just going to concentrate primarily on this car, and we'll probably let it run again overnight and see how it does. Now, like I said, I'm not putting these components back in. They've been there for about 28 hours. Most of the rust is gone. Paint's coming loose. I'm not really concerned about removing metal from these pieces. I'll probably end up cleaning them up with a wire brush and priming and painting them back. Just like I say, the mechanism to go underneath the car. Okay, this has been here for 53 hours, and I'm going to take it out, wash it off, and we're going to call it good. We've gotten all the rust pretty much removed. What's left now is just pitted metal. Well, this is how we're ending up. A lot of the brown rust is now gone. You see a lot of old gold paint. What's left is mostly pitted black rust. And from here we'll sand and try to get some of the pits out before we paint it. But the whole idea here was to remove the rust without removing metal, because it's so thin. This thing's been sitting outside for so long that I didn't want to make the metal thin out to the point that it had holes in it. So we got a little bit of body work to do, and like I say, I'll be putting lots of coats of primer to try to cover up some of the pitting. So that's it. Okay, after all the rust is removed, the process of putting layers of primer then paint begins. It took several days to do this, letting it dry between each coat. So as you can see, I had to flip the car back and forth and over, priming and painting, including the parts that were going to be reused. Okay, let me bring you up to speed on what I've done here. I've got 2 or 3 layers of primer both underneath and on top, and I just painted the underneath side last night, let it dry overnight, and now I've painted the top portion of the car. I also did the same thing with the components that went in the mechanism underneath the pedal car. As you can see, these have been painted a few coats after primering, and they have basically been sitting here for a day or so drying. I also decided to take a few of the nickel components, nickel plated components, and just simply paint them back with a metallic silver, which I think will look fine. I didn't want to spend the time sending these out. I could have done that and spent a lot more money, but I just simply chose to use a paint. You can also buy these components as well, I believe, reproductions. The paints I used, here's some black Krylon that I used for the components. This is a brown paint that I used on the body, and then here's the metallic that I used for these nickel plated parts. Okay, I finally received my parts. I got them from a place online called Speedway Motors. The products are put out by a company called Blue Diamond Classics. It's not cheap. I got 2 new steel wheels, 2 tires to put on, the decals that go inside the car, that's the windshield, the steering wheel. I believe this is the steering wheel right here, and this is a steering wheel insert along with 4 hubcaps. In this case, And my bill, yeah, look at it right there. Let's see if I can show it to you. Yeah, very expensive. I wouldn't be spending this kind of money, except this is my personal car when I was younger. It would be much cheaper to go out and find one of these cars that's been already done or in much better condition than the one I started with here. But again, those cars would not be mine. This is my car, so that's why I spent this kind of money. So anyway, my next step will be is I'm going to get these two wheels painted black. May put a white rim around them as well. I think that's how my car originally was set up. And I'll get the wheels off of this car and paint them, along with the spare wheel that will go on the luggage rack. So it's going to take some time to do that. So that'll be my next step. And then I'll probably start to go ahead and maybe try to assemble the steering wheel and start looking over the windshield, and maybe even start looking at the decals. Well, here's the car completed with the parts that were salvageable or existing. Everything's been done, except I have not painted the silver grille and headlights in. Also, I have not painted the rear tail lights in. I was able to salvage two wheels, and I had one other wheel that was not salvageable as far as being used because of the back side, but that wheel will be used on the back end as a luggage tire, I guess you would call it. I'm not sure what you call it, be on top of the luggage grill. So I have to put graphics on the side, the steering wheel. I'll need two front wheels and a windshield. So I'm waiting on those items to come right now, and when I receive them, I'll continue to assemble the car and then do the additional work. Plus these wheels I also will repaint. I just got them on here right now to kind of hold everything together inside. As you can see, all the mechanism inside has been reassembled. I want to talk about one other thing I did on this car. You can see right here that I put a piece of steel underneath across the bottom. This is split out years ago. It was a very weak, probably a weak design. I was going to try and just weld this back together here, but then I thought, well, it's just going to break apart again. So I decided, a buddy of mine suggested I put a piece of steel across there and I ran screws through to give it strength so it won't come apart again. Also, I know the paint isn't the greatest. I could have come back in and used some filler and really sand it down, but I just decided the car was the way it was. It was a personal choice. I beat out most of the dents. I could have done some really extensive body work, sanding and grinding, and the metal was very thin. But I decided that this kind of was character of what the car was, so that's why I decided just to leave it the way it was, and that's personal preference, and that's where we stand now.